My name is Thomas Champion. I was born February 26, 1931. I was born in the little town of Belleplain on East Avenue in a three-room house. That was the only house on that street until sometime in the 1950s when another house was built on the corner. Back in them times there, we had an outhouse that you had to go outside to, and for toilet paper we used the old Sears and Roebuck's catalog that had past due, and we had a pitcher pump that was outside. In the wintertime you had to trip it so that it wouldn't freeze up, and then the next day you go out and start it. We had in the kitchen, we had a wood stove that during the night we'd go out, and the next morning you have to go to fire. And then back in them days there was no television or nothing like that, so to occupy ourselves, well, we would play dominoes, pick up sticks, and then we had a couple games that were town games where you would, one of them I think was called Get Up and Dust. I don't know where that name come from, but anyhow, a group would go hide somewhere, and then the other group had to find them and beat them back to the place where you touched it to say you was the winner. I went to school in Belleplain, and I went to high school at Middle Township. The bus picked us up. They would take us to South Dennis Church there and drop us off because we didn't have enough kids to fill a bus. We were just a few of us, and a bus from Middle Township would pick us up and take us the rest of the way into the courthouse. I graduated Middle Township High School in 1950, and I married my wife Reba in 1951. And shortly after that, I was drafted into the U.S. Army. I went to Camp Pickett for my basic training down in Virginia, which is no longer there. I did medical. I was a medic, and I took the regular basic training for a period of time, and then after that we did medical training for 8 years. After I graduated from there, I was supposed to go to Korea, but somebody pulled some strings and had me go to Fort Sam Houston Medical School for a course in neuropsychiatry. After I graduated from that, then I went to Korea in November of 1952. I spent the rest of 52 and all of 53 in Korea. I was a medic at a clearing station. They're the people who put the people in the helicopter and send them back to the machine. After I come back from Korea, I became a member of the Belleplain Fire Company. I'm still a member of the Belleplain Fire Company. In fact, I'm chaplain now. But I was a chief for a good many years, and I was treasurer of the fire company for 19 years. I was a commander of the VFW in Belleplain, also served all the other offices like treasurer and secretary and all that. I was a member of the township committee in the 60s. I served on the planning board in the 60s and also was the secretary of the planning board in the 60s. I was a member of the school board for 25 years, and I was president of the board for 10 years. I was also president of the PTA. Well, I was treasurer of the Streetlight Commission. Back then, they had a Streetlight Commission that was similar to your fire district. Belleplain had quite a few streetlights, and I was treasurer of the Streetlight Commission. It was a 3-member commission, same as your fire district, and they had election, but eventually somewhere the state come along and said there would no longer be any fire or any streetlight district, that they would do away with it. We was in charge of was saying where the placement of the lights would go and pay for the street lights, because we got the money same as the fire district did, and we had our own checking account and things. Basically, all we did was say if somebody wanted a street light, we went and reviewed it and seen if it was, a good idea or not. The street lights came about, I think, in the 50s. I would say they lasted up till sometime, maybe even into the 80s. Oh, I'm a member of the Dennis Township Senior Citizens Association. I've served as a treasurer since 2000, and I was a charter member of the Belleplain Emergency Corps. My dad My dad's first wife was killed in an automobile accident in 1926, and they had 2 boys, Oliver and Leon. And when my mom and dad got married, I was the first son, the oldest son, and then there was my brother Bob, who passed away in 1980, and then there's Paul and Walter. Paul lives in Belleplain, and Walter lives in Belleplain. I lived in Belleplain for over 70 years now. I live in Moore. In 1937, my father started the sawmill. At first, we just cut firewood. Back then, there was no chainsaws and everything. You cut everything down with an axe. And we used to go in the woods, get a load of oak and bring it home, and it was a long thing. And we had a 1928 Chevrolet that was didn't have no body on it, but we jacked it up, and you was able to put the Floyd that run the saw on the tire, and then you put it in gear, and it would turn the saw. Later on, we started making basket bottoms, the bottoms of baskets, and we made them by the millions over the years. And we cut, right after the Second World War, we cut a lot of lumber for houses. The 2x4s were 2 inches by 4 inches. They weren't no 1 3/8 or anything like that. They were 4-2. We cut lumber for a lot of houses in Woodbine, and also we cut lumber for a guy named Amos Young, who built houses in Stone Harbor. And then we cut a lot of cedar siding and a lot of cedar shingles and stuff like that back in the 40s and 50s, up into the 60s. We cut a lot of boat lumber, white oak plank for Dorchester Industries, who built minesweepers. They had to be all out oak. And we cut the lumber for the ribs, for the mirror wall. We quit making the basket bottoms when Mason went out of business. We still had one customer up Paul Callahan, which is up above Princeton. And we used to make he took the little ones, those 4 inches, some 5 and some 6. And we used to get a tractor trailer load of them. We had a dump trailer about, 24 foot long. We used to load that on a Friday, and on Saturday morning we would go up there, and it was an all-day trip to go up and unload it and come back. Then we got to the point where the pallet business come along. We first started making what they call an apple bin for April Orchards, located up on 49 there in Brixton, and they would hold 14 bushel apples. You made the pallet like first, and then you put the sides on it. And back then, build them by hand. We nailed with a hammer and nails. And later on, they come out with this here nail gun, and we bought one of them, and we used the nail gun for quite a while. And now we have a machine that you just dump the nails in a hopper, and it automatically feeds, and this machine goes down over top of the pallet, and wherever you put a bolt, it nails the pallet. And that's put up sometime in the 50s. Well, up until the 50s, we run everything by Model T or a Buick or Chevy or something like that. Or the sawmill was run by, motors. At one time, we had one of them air putt machines running. Anyhow, in 1950, we bought an electric motor and hooked it up for the log saw. And ever since then, we've had electric. All of our saws and things run by electric. We blocked out the stuff on the log saw into cans like 6x8, and then we had this here, what we call a gang saw, that we run them through, and they would make 7 boards at a time. They would cut 7 boards of saw. Right now we closed the log saw side on the Caprians, and eventually we're going to try to sell the pallet business. My brother Walt is still making pallets, even though we're not cutting no lumber. Even back when we cut lumber, we bought a tractor trailer load of lumber out of Canada every other week. We bought about 27 tractor trailer load of lumber a year. And last year we made over 38,000 pallets. Each one of them pallets took 54 nails. When I first started at the park, the camping was real big. And back then, they had pitcher pumps in the picnic area. And, well, just before I went to work there, where the North Shore's at, that was a camping area, or a picnic area. They had two big fireplaces in there, and they had a pavilion, and they had an outhouse. Later on, I guess it was in the 50s, late 50s, somewhere along there, they put camping in there. Now, when I first went there, the camping was always in July and August. We had people come in, and we used to put them in an overflow where they didn't have a picnic table or a fireplace, just for a place for a setup. And there was one 4th of July in, I want to say the early 70s, we had over 100 families in overflow that didn't have a picnic table. Back then, when the park started, there was only 2 campgrounds in Cape May County, and that was Pine Haven and Ocean View. And then later on, well, you could take a look at it, how many campgrounds there is, just in Business Township. Picnic area on Sundays was loaded. I mean, you couldn't hardly walk on the beach. There was so many people there. And the parking lot was filled. And when the parking lot got completely filled, they wouldn't let any more people in until some people left. And usually they wouldn't open it up until like 10 cars left, and then they would let 10 more cars in. And they sat out there and waited out on Meisel Field Road before they come to the booth. And actually, the toll booth that's there now is the 3rd one. And you take like in the 60s and 70s, sometime maybe 80% of the people camping there were from Canada. When you come up, I fixed that path where you come up through there from that thing. Well, that used to come from the parking lot. Up in there, it was a breezeway. And you walk up on that breezeway, and if you went to the right, you went into the ladies' room. And if you went to the left, you went into the men. Well, when you first went in, it was a change room. And if you went all the way through, there was a toilet where they dug a hole and put a seat over. And it was like added on to the end of the thing. Each one was on the floor end. But the original parking lot only held 10 cars. And then there was a CCC camp that was located in the CCC area. That was there until after the Second World War. The office there, which is the Nature Center, they built that in 1938. Yeah, they dug the lake by hand. Up until the last year, and the last year they finished it up, they brought a steam shovel in. See, when I was a kid, we used to go there after work and go swimming. We used to take a bar of soap. I mean, you had no shower, no bathtub, no running water. That's where we went. Now they put you in jail for that. The CC started like 1933. And now the campground is smaller now, has less campsites now than it did in the 70s and 80s, because there was a lot more campsites back then. And like I say, back then they were always taken. In 1980, Tom Grant, to see who was the superintendent there, decided he wanted to throw a birthday party for Smokey Bear. So he talked to Forest Fire and got the suit. And at that time, we had an old Forest Fire truck here that was open. And he, I don't know who dressed up as Smokey the Bear. Had a few people, you know. We had cake and ice cream and sang happy birthday to Smokey, and that was the first one. And then after that, well, every year at Saturday, Labor Day weekend, we started having a Smokey Bear party. And then one day I got the bright idea, well, let's do something more. So we started this coloring contest and started giving out prizes for first, second, third, and fourth place prizes, and there was like 4 age groups. That took off pretty good. And then back then, Forest Fire, we had the coloring contest, and then after the coloring contest, we would go over into the field, and Forest Fire had set up things over there for the kids to do. Like they could shoot the hose, and they would have things set up for the kids to shoot the thing at. And then a couple of years, we even had the Dennisville Fire Company and Belleplain Fire Company come in with their big ball, and have a water fight with it. We used to have the helicopter used to come in over there at the field when the kids was there. And then the state got in the bind where they didn't have any money, and so basically all the afternoon stuff that the Forest Fire did was stopped. But we still have the birthday party every year, and I get the cakes donated, 5 full-size sheet and 1 half. Usually the half sheet we usually have the picture of the person we honor on there every year. We honor at least one family every year for camping 25 years or more, and we give away approximately I want to say in the neighborhood of $500 to $600 worth of Smoky Bears.